In the beginning of the ancient era, China was isolated by the Himalayan mountains. However, they had sea trade thanks to the Yellow River. The dynasty that started it all, the Shang dynasty, they introduced ideographs and ancestor worshipping.
Ancestors, hear my plea, help me not to make a fool of me.
The classical era consisted of three major dynasties, the Zhou, Qin, and Han. The Zhou dynasty created the Mandate of Heaven, which, much like this pinwheel, goes in a circle and changes whenever the gods desire it. I'm a god. The Qin dynasty, while short-lived because of its brutality, centralized power and was able to begin the construction of the Great Wall of China. Although ancestral worship was still important, the Han dynasty was responsible for the creation of Confucianist ideals. This was shown in the Chinese scholar gentry and in filial piety. However, one of the downsides to Confucianism was that it created China's patriarchy, which we've been trying to smash ever since. The Han dynasty was also responsible for the creation of paper, which was commonly traded on the newly created Silk Road. The Silk Road was important for cultural diffusion and for China to become an economic superpower. The important ideologies of this era were Confucianism, which stresses the importance of social cohesion, legalism, which is the belief that every human is born evil and stresses the importance of brutality, whereas Taoism stresses the importance of nature.
The post-classical era included the Sui, Tang, Song, and Yuan dynasties. The Sui dynasty is most famous for the Grand Canal, which connected the north to the south, allowing interregional trade. This is similar to the Great Wall because of its brutality towards its workers. During the post-classical era, paper money was invented, which made trading easier because it was lighter than previous currencies. This idea was adopted later on in this era by the Abbasids. During the beginning of the Tang dynasty, Buddhism became the prominent religion. However, by the end of this dynasty, Buddhists were being persecuted. This paved the way for Confucianism to become the prominent ideology in China. Neo-Confucianism was introduced. This was a new take on Confucianism, which embraced high morality and the patriarchy. Neo-Confucianism restricted women's roles and freedoms. During this dynasty, foot binding was introduced. This became a necessity for women to get married and literally confined them to their homes. The creation of gunpowder and movable type block printing, the precursor to Gutenberg's printing press, were key developments of the Song and Tang dynasties. When the Yuan dynasty, or the Mongols, came into power, many things changed. Women's rights went up, foot binding turned into political power, and the merchant class elevated, unlike past dynasties where they were seen as the lowest tier or the mean people, and scholar gentry was no longer in power.
Beginning of the early modern era, the Ming dynasty took over the Yuan dynasty and restored China to its pre-Mongol state. Women saw a significant decrease in their roles and the scholar gentry was reintroduced. Similar to in the previous era, China had a significant influence on the cultures around it. This is shown in Ming pottery and the amount of influence it had on Islamic pottery. The Qing dynasty was ruled by the Manchu tribe from northeastern China.